Imagine walking through the cold corridors of a grand Hungarian castle, the stone walls echoing your every footstep. The night is thick, and whispers seem to slither from the shadows, rumors of a queen whose obsession with beauty and youth drove her to acts so horrifying that even her closest courtiers feared her. You are drawn into a world where power, privilege, and vanity collide, where the pursuit of perfection turns deadly. The queen's chambers are lavish, adorned with tapestries and gold, yet beneath the elegance lies a darkness that chills the soul. Picture her, ElizabethBathory, a woman whose face remains flawless in candlelight, yet whose hands are stained with the terror of the innocent. The air is heavy with the scent of rosewater, but hidden in the castle's hidden corners, the faint metallic smell of blood lingers, a grotesque perfume of obsession. You are not just an observer, you are present in the whispers, in the secrets hidden behind heavy doors. Every servant knows to avert their eyes, every noble knows to bow quickly, for to cross her is to risk a fate more terrible than death. Beauty at any cost, even the cost of blood. Even now, centuries later, her obsession finds a strange mirror in our world. Today, people chase youth relentlessly. Creams, injections, and surgeries dominate industries worth billions. Yet, somewhere, children in mines, exploited for diamonds and gold used in beauty products and luxury items, work under conditions that echo the fears she imposed centuries ago. According to UNICEF, 1 in 10 children in mineral-rich regions perform hazardous labor, a grim reminder that the cost of beauty and luxury often falls upon the powerless. ElizabethBathory was born in 1560 into a noble Hungarian family, a house known for its wealth, influence, and the whispered shadows of cruelty. From a young age, she was surrounded by luxury, yet also by the seeds of obsession and control. Tutors described her as intelligent but cold, and stories suggest that even in childhood, she punished servants and animals with strange fascination, testing her power over life itself. Her father, a seasoned soldier and administrator, ensured she was educated in statecraft and politics, yet her mind often wandered to darker curiosities. She excelled in languages, history, and philosophy, but beneath the veneer of a proper upbringing lay a fascination with dominance and perfection. By the time she was a teenager, Elizabeth had begun to grasp not just the trappings of nobility, but the terrifying power she could wield over those weaker than herself. Early accounts suggest that even at 12, Elizabeth enjoyed asserting control over servants through humiliation. She observed the court with an acute awareness, learning which noble families could be intimidated, which could be bent to her will, and how fear could be as potent as love. This foundation, built upon privilege and secrecy, would evolve into the chilling obsession that would define her life. At 15, Elizabeth was married to Ferenc Nadasdy, a man of significant influence and wealth. Their union was strategic, designed to strengthen her family's position and expand their power across Hungary. Ferenc was a man of stern character, and initially he guided her, teaching the responsibilities of governance. But Elizabeth's personality had been forged in shadows of cruelty and curiosity. Soon, she began to experiment with the boundaries of her power, first over servants, then over towns and peasants under her control. She noticed that fear could ensure obedience, and that influence could be wielded not just through politics but through terror. The seeds of obsession are planted young, capturing her early fascination with control and dominance. Her methods were subtle at first, whispers, threats, and surveillance. Yet, gradually, her obsession with perfection and youth took root, evolving from mere control into a darker desire that would consume her morality. By the early 1600s, rumors began to surface that Elizabeth was bathing in the blood of young girls, believing it would preserve her youth and beauty. Eyewitness accounts describe girls being lured to her castle under the guise of service or education, only to vanish into secret chambers. Reports from Hungarian nobility and surviving testimonies later described horrifying scenes, the queen herself supervising rituals in which the girls' blood was used for bathing, her obsession twisting ritualistic acts into cruelty. She maintained her public facade of nobility, hosting grand feasts and ceremonies. Her beauty remained flawless, a stark contrast to the fear she instilled in those around her. Her beauty became a curse, and her curse became legend. Even her staff lived in constant anxiety, aware that any mistake could lead to punishment or disappearance. This duality, queen of elegance and monster of obsession, made Elizabeth one of the most feared figures in European history. Inevitably, rumors of her atrocities reached the ears of local authorities. In 1610, after years of whispers, an investigation led by Hungarian officials revealed the scale of her crimes. Servants and nobles testified about the queen's obsession, her cruel methods, and the horrifying fate of the girls under her control. Elizabeth's accomplices were arrested, and she was confined in her castle under house arrest, living out her remaining years in isolation. The trial, though not as public as modern courts, laid bare the extremes of her obsession. Witnesses spoke of horror, fear, and the unnatural desire that had driven a queen to such extremes. The shock of the revelations spread across Europe. Noble courts were appalled, yet fascinated, and ElizabethBathory's name became synonymous with cruelty and obsession. Elizabeth spent the last decades of her life confined in Sedge Castle, under constant surveillance yet still in possession of her wealth. Her days were filled with isolation and reflection, a slow decay of the power she had wielded so ruthlessly. Though she lived in relative comfort compared to her victims, the psychological weight of her actions, the isolation, and the passage of time eroded her. She passed away in 1614, a shadow of the formidable queen she had once been, leaving behind a legacy steeped in horror, fascination, and moral warning. Even queens must pay the price for cruelty. Elizabeth's obsession with youth and control may seem distant, but its echoes are visible today in the exploitation of the vulnerable for luxury, wealth, and vanity. Modern reports by UNICEF and the International Labour Organization, ILO, reveal that children and adults in mineral-rich regions, particularly for gold and diamonds, are forced to work under hazardous conditions. Some are even trafficked, enslaved, or coerced into labor for profit, mirroring the fear and control Elizabeth exercised centuries ago. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, for instance, children as young as 7 are reported working in mines, extracting cobalt and diamonds under brutal conditions. These resources often feed the cosmetics, jewelry, and luxury industries, the very sectors that promise beauty and perfection in modern societies. The parallels are striking. Then, a queen bathed in the blood of the innocent to maintain beauty. Now, corporations and powerful interests profit from the forced labor of the powerless to sustain global demand for luxury and vanity. The cycle of exploitation remains, a haunting echo of history. History repeats when vanity and greed outweigh humanity. ElizabethBathory's story resonates beyond her era, a chilling testament to the dangers of unchecked obsession, privilege, and power. Her relentless pursuit of youth cost countless lives, transforming a queen into a monster and leaving a society to grapple with the consequences of her actions. The echoes of her reign are not confined to history books. They persist in modern societies where the obsession with appearance, status, and wealth can overshadow morality and humanity. Her tale prompts reflection on power dynamics, the exploitation of the vulnerable, and the human capacity for cruelty when desire eclipses ethics. The psychological insight is profound. Obsession, when unbridled, creates systems of terror that entangle both the powerful and the powerless. Elizabeth's victims, her accomplices, and even her own family all felt the consequences of her extreme desire for perfection. Today, the parallels are seen in industries, governments, and institutions where human cost is subordinated to vanity, wealth, and control. Her legacy is a haunting reminder: beauty and power, pursued without restraint or compassion, can become instruments of horror. The world she shaped through fear and obsession continues to reflect in the mechanisms of control, exploitation, and vanity still present today. Power and beauty can be intoxicating, but when unrestrained, they devour everything around them. Even centuries later, ElizabethBathory is remembered not just as a queen, but as a cautionary tale, a figure whose dark obsession warns humanity of the cost of vanity and absolute power, leaving echoes in history and society that continue to resonate.